Alright. Let's get into the game. Spawning here in the top right side of the map. He's going to be one of our favorite Olimoleague players. And an overall badass. It's going to be TCM's Soulkey.
In the bottom left, apparently proxying, it's the red Terran, GuMiho.
But it's a bit of an odd proxy, too.
It's in the middle of nowhere.
It's not just in the middle of the nowhere, but it's one. Right? This isn't like 3 racks Marines. This isn't 2 racks Reaper. This is just one Reaper that's going to get across the map slightly faster than you normally would. And I say it slow and awkwardly like that because I just feel like that's the trend of this right now.
Yeah. So this is like very like non-committed proxy. Might get a couple more drone kills than it would if it wasn't a proxy, but otherwise like, you're not really expecting too much from it. And honestly, its worst downside is the time it takes for the barracks to come back home. So of course you're not building Marines at the time, you're not building a reactor to go on the factory or what have you, whatever you're trying to build. But on Dust Towers, where the natural is in the back, you can still wall off with a factory. Or, whatever you're going to get. Maybe you follow up with barracks. I don't know what GuMiho's plan is, but point is you can still wall
Ghost Academy.
off. Yeah, Ghost Academy, just right there. Just perfectly fit. But yeah, this is already starting to do a little bit of damage. The first one's already in the main base. Got a pretty nice grenade, as a lot of drones are in low health. Actually, a couple of them go into that second grenade, too.
I mean, one of the kind of cool things, I guess, about the grenade that I always enjoy is that even if it doesn't kill a lot, it disrupts the mining. Not a lot in the game does that.
Yeah. The Reaper has really become such a nice unit after its nerf in Wings of Liberty.
See, what I like about it most is that it's a unit that has a very, very important role in the game for a very specific amount of time. Like, you're not going to have anybody massing these out later on 15 minutes in the game.
Yeah. So, like I said, it doesn't do too much damage. That's just not proxying wouldn't have done. But a little bit more, a few more grenades thrown, maybe 1 or 2 more drone kills. But everything is handled nicely by Soulkey, and the game does go on. Soulkey has no real counterattack potential with the wall off being as it is, and speed is even done right now, so not really a worry from what?
Just clicking on things and they're not working. It's making me mad. Sorry.
Oh. Yeah, not really enough to worry about for GuMiho. Now, GuMiho doesn't want to get in there for a secondary scout just in case Soulkey did throw down like a Bailing Nest or a Rotorm or something like that, and he wants to be prepared for that. But Lings actually get on top of the Reaper, which is quite unfortunate. Once again, you want to be able to at least see the third base that went down.
Oh. Rip. Just stay in the air forever. It's the only way.
Just learn to fly.
Yeah.
That'll be good. Alright, so third CC is on the way, and the factory was kind of bothered to be made almost at this point, right? Like, it's going to produce a couple of Hellions, but they're not going to be so useful. Really, their main job is to ensure the third base is not to be lifted to a Ling swell, which is still possible on Dust Towers, just a little less likely than other maps.
I wonder how long until we see our first Korean try and pull off like a bunny build, by the way, in TvZ. But,
probably we're going to witness that in GSL.
Maybe. The first Liberator is going to be heading across the map soon. We got some Hellions tapering off this as well. Liberator's got a really weird dynamic, man. Like, I still don't know how I feel about this unit in general, but again, you can either slaughter a lot or you can deny mining. Both are really effective for Terran players.
Yeah.
And so much of this game right now does feel like, even though GuMiho might be like beyond and he's got the late game figured out, you still don't want Zerg to get the Ultralisk, to get the Hive Tech very easily. Every little bit of stall tactic you can do, a drop here, Liberators there, Hellions harassing, I mean, it buys all the time in the world that matters incredibly when it comes to trying to keep up with getting to that late game tech.
So GuMiho is bothering to go up to 6 Hellions from that factory. Again, they're not going to do a whole lot, but it can be like Heart of the Swarm, where they will turn to Hellbats for the main push when you get to the Armory. And that's still useful, especially if your opponent is actually going into Ling Bling Muta, which Soulkey certainly has the potential to do. I mean, he was one of the Muta Masters in Heart of the Swarm, and still does it occasionally in Legacy of the Void, but has more often been doing things like Roaches into Mutas, or Mutas into Roaches, or Roach Ravager pushes, or Roach Ravager all-ins. Like, those have been more of the options available for Zerg than the typical Muta game.
So Queens block out the ramp. The Hellions managed to fry a lot of drones while this goes on. Liberator says, well, there's nothing for me to do here. I'll just go up to the natural instead. And there's no queen here to defend this. 9 drones have gone down. Probably going to be seeing 12 in total. And denying more mining from 2 different bases. Soulkey, I mean, I didn't think he'd take so much from this, to be honest.
Yeah. He is going into a Spire. I was for a second there wondering if he was just going to all in with Banelings, but no, he starts his upgrades, he starts the Spire, tries to get a lift up on the main command, or the 3rd command center rather, knowing that the Hellions just sacrificed themselves, but there's certainly enough Marines to deter that.
Looks like the Liberator died, maybe? Oh, it's barely alive down here.
And now the question comes down to, can Soulkey survive that ever, like, you know, frustrating push from the Terran when their medevacs are out that seems to kill them while they're trying to go for Mutilating Bling. Now, Soulkey did get a rather fast macro hatchery like a minute and a half ago, I think, so his larva, you think, wouldn't be a problem, but still seems to be. I mean, much rather would have that as a 4th base early on and the gas is taken than just the macro hatchery in the main base.
Agreed, but there's also the fact that every single queen was running around and not injecting, trying to deal with those liberators.
That's true.
Or the single liberator, excuse me. So, macro hatchery's nice, but injects are better.
I really like that GuMiho didn't go for a drop. I feel like doing the drop loses that momentum that can win you the game, basically, against Mutilating Bling, because all they have to do for a drop is have units already in position, where what they have to do for a frontal assault is much more complicated, especially if the creep is being cleared up.
Man, we were kind of making jokes earlier, talking about, like, the Warp Prism should be able to have an attack while the Adepts get, like, warped in from it.
Yeah.
Just kind of thinking on that, like, why can't you have, like, 1 Marine? I understand that, all of them. Yeah. Or just, like, hanging out the door like you see on, like, helicopters in old-time war movies, Vietnam and stuff, right?
Actually, they replaced the turret that the Marine usually goes on with the needle injector that heals. So.
Okay, sure.
I can see that being, like, that's how they explain the lore.
Well, these things have bathrooms, so why not?
Exactly.
Scale things in this game very rarely make sense. Unfortunately, forced to unload some Marines on top of the Banelings.
That wasn't so bad, though. Buys time for the boost to get off cooldown, and that was nice.
Saves the medevacs.
No, don't attack off a creep. This is
already
a big problem. This is why it's so, like, nothing's really happened in this. I mean, the Liberator did do damage, the Hellion did do damage, but certainly if this was hard to the Swarm, that's not game-ending, like, oh, this push is easy peasy. But already GuMiho is up almost 30 army supply. That just sounds, it seems
and
wrong.
There's just almost no Banelings to speak of.
Exactly,
for
the
Soulkey,
Baneling count is so low. Or non-existent.
Yeah, with 9 in total.
Attacking off of creep is also not going to be his best bet. It's actually quite the worst one. Even a counterattack is already being kind of taken care of, both rallying at his home as well as having a full wall off, actually, on Dust Towers. Something you see very often.
That's impressive. That's a lot of depots. GuMiho. Damn. Well, Bio coming forward, splitting left to right. Got a couple Hellbats in here to soak those hits as well. Those Banelings are not numerous enough to deal with this Bio Force.
Certainly Soulkey still has the potential to be able to clean this up,
nope,
but the creep spread's starting to recede. Oh, dropping the natural actually is doing so much damage.
Oh, Mutas, please.
So much from the main defense. And GuMiho's just kind of making it look easy. But again, the Hellbat, the Hellions were cool, the Liberator was cool, but I mostly just blame Mutilating Bling.
Yeah, the strategy just does not seem to be super good. Soulkey has made it work. Like, I really want to stress, Soulkey's made this work, and it's been situations where this is fine. But in general, we're seeing this be a very weak strategy. The gas count just isn't there to keep up with the mineral count that Terran players have from the better economy. You're no longer seeing 1 Baneling for every 2 Marines type thing. It's more like 1 Baneling for every 3 or more likely 4 Marines.
Yeah. And anytime Soulkey has been able to get away with Mutilating Bling, I think it's been when the Terran tries to drop. If you can deal with a 2 to 4 medevac drops easily, then yeah, they'll lose their frontal momentum, and you can deal with drops just by having lings underneath them. But if you, like, you know, if they just do what GuMiho did, which was, you know, still kind of drop, he had
not split, not split. Oh god.
That was a little awkward. But just do the frontal attack and actually bother cleaning up creep, then Zerg really struggles.
A little bit scary on that south side with Marines. Still a lot of Banelings that can kite over them Widow Mines. It's getting a little bit scary for GuMiho as he is clumped up. Widow Mines are not going where he wants them to go, and he can't focus fire on these Banelings, but he's off creep, so he's got a chance to get away from this. Lots of Marines come to the rescue, and man, that got really messy and really scary for GuMiho. But now turning this around on his opponent. Big supply lead. Upgrades are 2-2 apiece and 3-3 all the way for GuMiho.
Oh, Jesus. Oh,
These have been the worst Widow Mine hits ever. I just want to put it out there. But even then, still enough numbers to just brute force through it.
Soulkey really trying to push this back, but he has lost everything he basically needs to. Like, it's no longer just having to push this back. It's having to push it back and probably do a lot of damage too. Once again, not splitting. GuMiho's giving him the opportunity to, but he needs a 4th base. He wants to go up to Hive. He has to have creep again, which is completely reseeded. Like, there's really no creep anymore. These are all things that are very important, and they just don't exist right now. He tries to get a 4th base. He might be able to get it, especially if GuMiho focuses too much on actually trying to end the game, which was a problem in his TvT, actually. But he certainly doesn't have that creep spread anymore, and has... I don't know if he's really going to be able to afford to go to Hive. He's actually banking quite a lot of gas, surprisingly, but his minerals are still low. GuMiho's on his own 4th base. That's quite bad.
I just realized, by the way, it's been a fairly short Olimoleague again.
Yeah, probably going to be 3.5 hours. Thanks, Changeling. Soulkey officially pushed it back, and this is the time where they can kind of take a breather. But without all of those things I just mentioned, any follow-up attacks are going to be very difficult to hold. And all-in at this point is not going to work either.
Yeah, Mutas are going to have a fun time not getting much done here at the 4th. Planetary as well means run-bys aren't going to be an issue. It's a lot of turrets in the main.
This is too bulky of an army. It's actually a lot of Marauders in here to soak up quite a few Banelings, especially on the front lines. Only thing that could actually make this composition better would be, I guess, more Widow Mines and maybe also a Thor going back to just real hard of the swarm.
1 or 2 tanks as well, maybe just kind of pepper in the background. Get some of that focus fire off, but either way, I mean, Mutilas normally pick off the reinforcement line while this goes on. They try and pick off units that are split a little too far out, but Soulkey is just struggling here. His army supply, half that of GuMiho's. Even if the Banelings get the best connects in the world, I think there just might be a little too much army supply. GG. GuMiho going to take map number 1 here in this best of 3 semifinals.